COVID-19, it's left tens of thousands of Belizeans jobless, and there's a creeping sense of desperation amongst the most needy. But on the other side, over 20,000 Belizeans have received their first unemployment relief check. 4,000 have received or are waiting for their enhanced food pantry package, while tens of thousands have applied for a package of food assistance. But today in the city, securing a little assistance for some Belize City residents was a hassle. That's because police were closing down food pantry locations across the city. They were telling people to go home, that the pantries, which included perishable food items, would be delivered, when they wouldn't be. Naturally, city breadlines became belligerent, and this morning they directed their ire at an insensitive police force. And the minister in charge of food pantry disbursement came to their rescue, piling scorn upon the police. 7 News was there, and here's the story.
There was some commotion on Regent Street this morning as police closed down the Salvation Army pantry.
So far, we do it, everybody there in their circle. Everybody there in their circle. We do it from 5 o'clock. Yesterday we come out here. When we come out here, they are 99. They talk about, I called to this officer, I asked if he had ticket. He looked at me and he tell me the whole ticket done. They don't got 100. They look at me and tell me that we have to come back today. When we come back today for 5 o'clock, we do it out here, so they stand up there, so we still can't get no help. They will look back there, tell we they are bringing the food house. Might as well let me sell we food $12 out of food. Might as well, because we got food $12 to buy. Because when they sell you, they don't really worry about give you. But because now they're free, we have to go through all this problem. And then that don't make no sense.
And then they talk about then they give toppings. Mister, they give no toppings in a dish. Nothing in a dish. They give you 3 pounds of beans, 3 pounds of rice, 3 pounds of everything they give you in there. They don't give you no toppings in there.
So nothing, no chicken?
No chicken, no soap, powder, Clorox, no veg, nothing like that they don't give you.
5 o'clock. Then we the out to wait for the pantry. If them want we pay, we could pay. Because I don't like what we not been to pay with $12. Now they call shut down the place. We not for feed for we picnic. You understand me? There's a chance to watch how long they got we out here. For yesterday they push it and handle you like dog meat. This is beyond the point, man. Then they eat, we know we are suffer. At the end of the day, the only poor people are suffering. This, you know, miss.
And just as the women were leaving, we spoke to Salvation Army District Secretary Elaine Weatherburn, who was also confused about the reason behind the shutdown.
Well, we were instructed by the police that we need to close the pantry down. We don't have anything in writing in black and white, so we're not sure what happened. But we just follow instruction and close it. I heard that all of them are closed. I'm not sure. Well, I don't have no particular reason, because it's not that the people were close together, because they were separated, because we marked the lines and they were all okay. So I don't know.
And do you have sufficient stock of everything to provide right now?
I have everything right now. The Women's Department, the ministry will deal with it. They had one open yesterday and it was closed as well, so they were informed of that one, so I think they will deal with it.
And indeed, the minister himself showed up to deal with it.
The policemen came and closed down Salvation Army pantry illegally. This is a legit business that operates food. It is entitled to work from 8 a.m. until 4 p.m. in the evening. The people must maintain social distance. You hear the cry for food for people. You hear the cry that people want a little food. How you want to turn back people in the legit hours? And my problem is the police, I could tell you, have no legit authority under the law. So the commissioner needs to be careful of not having the policemen breaking the law. I am terribly upset. And you see, sometimes I wonder if there is a social conscience, sir. If there is a social conscience, like for example, all public servants, including police people, have been paid. A lot of them people don't have nothing to eat. And then you stop them and get something to eat. So I have a problem with that. They say instruction come from above, of which nobody can tell you what kind of instruction or will come from above. When I came out here, the corporal said to me, instruction come from above. How the thing work like that? They may close down Wellworth, they may close down Samuel Haynes, they close down Salvation Army, the Oleander Street with no authority.
The commissioner himself showed up to set things straight and met an animated minister vigorously demanding that the pantry remain open.
When I came here, the sergeant tell me that then they have to lock down the place. I said, then can't say we'll give them instruction. I don't like by your corporal.
After the minister and commissioner had come to an understanding, this pantry at least was back up and running.
Under whose instructions they open it again?
Under my instructions. For two reasons. Because the police were acting illegally. So they're not under my instructions. I just tell the people that you have your right. The police cannot close you down.
In desperate and pressurized times, we suspect it is not the last pantry clash between police and politicians. Cherise Halsall, 7 News.
Martinez also managed to reopen Wellworth and the Salvation Army on Oleander Street. But he had to get on the radio to beg the people who had gone home expecting delivery of their pantry to get back in line. The issue is perishable foods that will spoil by the time they can come back on Monday. For his part, the Commissioner of Police chastised his cops for their insensitivity, even though they maintained that the orders had come from their commanders. And while the police got publicly pilloried by a cabinet minister for that misstep today, the commissioner, speaking generally, said that right now the police are under pressure and he has to let some things slide.
As administrators, we are not everywhere, we cannot see everything that is taking place. So when things are highlighted to us, then it's a matter for us to ensure we take the appropriate action to address the issues. And police are no saints. In a time like this, we are policing in very tough and stressful times. The officers are human beings, they're subject to making mistakes, and when it comes to making mild mistakes, I don't think that we should kill them. We have to understand the difficulty that they are in as well, and we have to strike a balance where that is concerned.
We tracked down the commissioner this morning in the Raccoon Street station yard because we wanted to find out about the biggest news of last night. The police and the state had decided to set free 134 alleged gang members who had been detained under the Southside state of emergency on March 18th. Initially, authorities had said they would lock them up for 30 days and then roll that over for another 30 to 60 days. But, as we told you last night, the commissioner hinted to them on Wednesday that he was inclined to bypass that and end their detention last night at the 30-day mark. Well, he did. At 6 p.m. last night, police brought the prisoners from jail back to Belize City to rejoin their families as free men. Today, Williams explained the factors that went into the decision.
While yes, the intention then was to hold them at prison for as long as the law would allow. From then to now, the time that they had been incarcerated, Mr. Nuri Mohammed and Ms. Marinette Westby have been going to the prison and dialoguing with them, doing sessions with them as well, along with Mr. Dawson from the prison. And this was done with a view to see what can be done to be able to get them to resolve their issues. I personally tried my best to stay away from it because I truly do not want to, or did not want to have any sort of dialogue with them. My thing is that they should remain in prison. Nonetheless, from the discussions done with them through Mr. Mohammed, Ms. Westby and Mr. Dawson at the prison, they asked me if I could go in and have a word with the guys because they would like to hear from me. Now, this was winding down to the end of the 30 days period. And you would recall I have said in a previous news interview that if it is that they want their freedom, they must agree to two things. One will be to surrender their weapons, and two, that they must sign a contract with CYDP that, if released, they are going to ensure that they hold the peace. And so I said to them in my intervention that if it is that they are willing to surrender their weapons and to sign the contract with CYDP, then I have no difficulty trying to see what I can do in order for them to be released. If it is that they refuse to do either, then I would surely advocate for them to stay. Well, it happened that they agreed, and so from the process we obtained a total of, we have already obtained a total of 27 weapons from them, including AK-47. Really? And we should be receiving another 5 today to bring it to a total of 32 weapons. And they have also agreed to sign the contract with CYDP that they are going to hold it down. And my message to them is that if you go out, if one gunshot is heard in the city and it comes from either of you, you're coming back. And the easiest thing to do is to do another one. It is much easier than getting an extension, because getting an extension, you have to go to the house. But to declare another one is much easier. So they agreed that they are going to ensure that the people of Belize live in peace, because that is my priority.
We should note that to extend the state of emergency detentions, the government would have had to go to the House of Representatives, which has its own complications in a COVID situation. Of course, to issue a new one, they do not have to go back to the House, only to get the assent of the Governor General. So the police have already gotten 22 guns and a promise of 5 more. But 27 guns from 134 gangsters? The math doesn't seem right. We asked the Compol about it.
Sir, we know that these gangs, they have arsenals, and you're dealing with 134 alleged gangsters. Is it realistic to think that they will hand over their weapons? That's number one. Number two, is this an informal gun amnesty? Because when you're in possession of a firearm, it's a remandable offense.
Well, I don't think, Jules, that I'm not going to be naive to think that they will surrender all they have. But getting 32 is a huge start. 32 guns off the streets is a big deal. And while, yes, it may be a sort of an informal gun amnesty for them, but it also benefits us because they're surrendering their guns and they're not being paid for it. Period, full stop. This is a part of them showing good faith. As I said before, Jules, we are not going to babysit them. If they slip, they're gone.
But quicker than you can say gang troops, there was reportedly a gang-related fight this morning in Belize City. Reports to us are that it happened near a meat pie shop on Hydes Lane between 2 warring gangs. And it was the police who fired a shot to break up the melee. We asked the commissioner about it.
I know this morning there was a fight between 2 groups near Belize and Meat Pie. That was the Majestic Alley group and another group. And I have said to the officers to ensure that both groups are brought into custody. And they need to be told that if you think that you fight this morning and you're going to try to settle score later on, it is not going to work. We cannot be focusing on the pandemic and babysitting no criminals. That is not going to work. So we'll monitor the groups as they go along. And as I've said before, the ball is in their court. If they slip, then it's on them. We will do what needs to be done then.
We are told that as a consequence of this morning's fight, police have gone to pick up members of the Majestic Alley gang and pulled them into a meeting this evening. We are told the fight happened on Hydes Lane, not near Belizean Meat Pies, which is on Waters Lane. But could that tough talk and the 30-day detention trigger what's known as a retaliation against the state? That's when gang affiliates commit deadly crimes just to give the police work, as they say. It has happened before, and lives have been lost as a consequence. We asked the commissioner about that today.
Speak if you can about retaliation or the possibility of retaliation against the state. We know that this is a pattern of behavior throughout in the Caribbean. Whenever these measures are instituted, the criminals have a tendency, because they feel they were unjustly incarcerated at great pain to their families, and they want to exact a retaliation against the state.
Well, my brother, if they do that, they're not retaliating against the state. They will retaliate against themselves, because they will feel the wrath of the state. Period. We cannot run no joke with them. They say they want to live among us. As I've always said, it is not the society duty to adjust to accepting their lifestyle. It is their duty to adjust to suit the society lifestyle. If you want to live among us, then your behavior must be that of human beings. If you continue to display behavior that is more compatible with animals, then you cannot be among us. You have to be put away. Period.
And despite the mano duro position being taken, the fact is that there has been the exercise of some compassion in letting the detainees out after 30 days. Williams discussed this today.
We have to bear in mind as well that these people do have relatives out here who are, some of them are punishing. And we have to look at striking a balance to see what can be done with a view to be able to have them out here to provide for their loved ones during this time. And so it was on that basis that the decision was made not to extend.
Was the idea of releasing them somewhat more appealing insofar as we know that we're on a national lockdown, a national state of emergency, and the free movement of peoples is severely limited at this time, and you cannot be out after 8 at night. Really after 4 in the afternoon, it's complicated.
Well, I am sure, yes, that the current state of emergency is going to help us. But you and I know that when these criminals want to do what they want to do, they will find a way to do it. Yeah. So I am not going to sit and think that, the current state of affairs is going to prevent them from doing anything. We must still ensure we do what needs to be done to ensure that they don't have the chance to do nothing. But if it is that they find the opportunity to do something, then that will be the first and last. They will go.
And we take a break now, but when we come back, we'll have the latest COVID-19 numbers. More tests taken, but no new positive results.
Smart is fully prepared for the demands on our network to facilitate those working from home and for customers to continue to communicate with friends and family. With the entire country at home, our team has pushed for more innovative services and promotions like our double data along with new ways of purchasing mobile services via our app and agents countrywide. Smart is proud to have dedicated staff working from home as well as out in the field to keep communication flowing. Customers can also follow our online fitness, science, comedy and other great segments to continue being active at home. Smart has also sponsored the Ministry of Health free hotline, along with gifting all our frontline medical personnel a prepaid number with $50 credit to stay in contact in these times. Be assured we are with you and look out for more weekly promotions on SMS, voice and data. Be smart and be safe.
All persons are requested to immediately cease and desist from setting fire to any bush, milpa, field, pasture, grass, or any household or yard waste during the state of emergency. There's a severe drought upon us. Smoke pollution from fires degrades air quality and can negatively affect persons with asthma and other respiratory ailments. Especially at this time, we need to keep our lungs clean and healthy. Through satellite tracking, the ministry can determine in real time the location of bushfires anywhere in Belize. If you are burning, please heed this advisory and stop the burning immediately. If you are affected by smoke pollution, please call your nearest police station to report anyone you see burning yard waste, bush, or fields.
Digi, your national telecom, would like to assure all Belizeans that we will continue to keep you connected during this challenging time, providing you with high-quality services that you depend upon each day. The resilience and the reliability of both our staff and our networks will ensure that you are able to keep working, learning, and most importantly, communicating with your loved ones at home and abroad. This is what matters most at this time.
Boosting Diginet speeds for free to over 20,000 customers and pledging over $7 million to the COVID-19 Relief Fund by way of $1 million in cash and $6 million in value to our customers is just one of our ways of showing we are here for Belize.
You can depend on Digi. Together, we will get through this challenging time and emerge even stronger. Stay safe, Belize.
I am Ronald, lineman lead hand at BL. We are an essential service and we are doing everything we can to make sure that we keep the lights on for our customers.
I work outdoors and my job is to provide safe and reliable power.
Our teams continue to serve communities across Belize.
The Social Security Board, in collaboration with the Labor Department, takes this opportunity to remind insured persons of the requirements for compensation when on sick leave. Any employee who has worked with an employer for at least 2 months is entitled to 16 working days of sick leave with full pay every year. This is how it works. Upon approval of a sickness or injury benefit claim by SSB, 80% of the employee's weekly insurable earnings is paid as a Social Security benefit, and the difference in the employee's salary is paid by the employer. This is to ensure that the employee does not suffer any loss of wages when ill. After 16 days, compensation for sick leave is paid as a Social Security benefit only. Some conditions apply. This message is brought to you by the Social Security Board and the Labor Department. Social Security Board, safeguarding you, your family, your future.
NextGen, we work for you. Because despite you not being able to be together, we can keep you connected, united, talking to each other, seeing each other, communicating with each other. Stay connected with NextGen. NextGen, powered by Central TV and Internet.
As we told you at the top of the news, there are no new cases of COVID-19 confirmed in Belize tonight. But about 100 more persons have been tested, and all those results came back negative. So 734 persons have been tested total. 716 of those tests have been negative, while 18 were positive. Of those 18, 2 have died, and the other 16 are recovering, with none in intensive care. Notably, no positive tests have emerged since Monday. Broken down by district, they are 356 negative and 8 positives coming out of the Belize district, 44 negative in Orange Walk with no positive tests, 72 negative and 4 positive in Corozal, 190 negative in Cayo with 6 positive, 26 negative and no positive in Stan Creek, and 28 negative and 0 positive in Toledo. There are currently 45 cases under investigation. And while the numbers are encouraging and the positive results seem to be trending down, the head of the intensive care at Belize's National Referral Hospital warns that we shouldn't get relaxed at all, because a true outbreak could be around the corner. Dr. Pedro Arriaga spoke to us via video conference from a hotel room in Belize City, where he is on quarantine for possible COVID-19 exposure. He said the numbers could trend up quickly once more tests are done.
What do you expect in the days going forward? Are you foreseeing that we'll have more cases coming in?
It's extremely difficult to see where we're standing at this point in time, Jules. It's a possibility maybe we are at the beginning of the outbreak, and this is one of our major concerns, that we're not so sure how the outbreak in the country will be. Certainly, if we follow the pattern of some other countries, like for example in Italy, United States, and Spain, you should be extremely concerned. Some other countries like Germany and Taiwan and Korea, they have been doing an excellent job in such a way that could be able to control the amount of, interaction between people and the contamination. So, and knowing that we have a health system is not a very strong health system, I think we should be looking into the basic principles, and this is to stay at home, try to have social distancing, and try to be as cautious as possible when you are interacting with people. Washing your hands properly and try to avoid to touch your face.
Arriaga also discussed the controversy over the COVID-19 isolation unit being housed at the KHMH. He says it's not ideal, but because ventilators need a steady oxygen supply, it is the only practical choice.
What do you think of the isolation ward being within the walls of the KHMH?
A difficult question to answer, Jules, because the problem is, where else are we going to put that unit? And this is the reaction. For example, if we are talking about a patient that's supposed to be with mechanical ventilation, you need to have an oxygen system. Let's give you an example. If you have a patient that's supposed to be with a mechanical ventilator and then you want to use oxygen tanks, you have to do maybe 6 or 7 oxygen tanks per day. So you can see the amount of, labor constrictions, human resources, and try to avoid any cross-contamination, moving tanks off and on from the ward. So it was extremely difficult to visualize where to put the isolation unit, but not the hospital, because that's the only area, only hospital in this country, they have an oxygen system that's supposed to be closed. We need to get an area where we're supposed to be treating this kind of patients. That's a moral and ethical issue, and also it's a technical issue because we had to treat those patients. We can't allow those patients to be on their own if they are really sick,
And while he can't currently attend to any of those who are really sick, Arriaga says that even on quarantine, he remains actively involved in the management of patients by doing just what he did with us, video calls to the medical team in the ICU and the isolation unit.
But now everything has stopped for you while you remain on self-isolation, is that right?
No, I still continue handling patients in the isolation unit up to the time that the patient was discharged from the isolation unit a couple of days ago. Although there are doctors and nurses working there, I supervising them from my tablet and from my computer and from the phone, so I have direct communication with them, as I always do before, and with the same thing with the general ICU. I still, the person in charge, and I'm supervising what the doctors they do with the general ICU patients at this point in time.
Arriaga adds that he has led and continues to remotely lead training sessions for the medical staff in procedures such as incubation and the donning and doffing of PPEs. And as Arriaga said, to keep COVID-19 at bay, Belizeans have to stay home. But not everyone is following the rules, and last night, 2 Santa Elena curfew breakers were sitting in a white pickup truck when they were spotted by police. They tried to evade arrest by speeding off, but the cops pursued them. It was a high-speed chase that ended when the truck crashed into a fence. Commissioner of Police Chester Williams told us more today.
Sir, was there indeed this high-speed chase in San Ignacio last night with a vehicle where police had to fire shots at the vehicle?
Yes, there was a high-speed chase, but no shots were fired either by the police or the persons inside the vehicle. Apparently, the vehicle was parked in an area and the police went by to see who were in the vehicle, and it sped off and the police pursued. The vehicle crashed into a fence and the occupants ran. Police know who they are. We're looking for them. We were not able to find them last night, but we're still looking for them at this time.
So it was someone violating the curfew?
Yes, it was.
And while police expect to make arrests in that curfew violation, overall those arrests have been trending down. There have been 900 in 2 weeks, but the commissioner says he thinks police are using a softer approach.
The overall arrests for curfew violations, we know they had been in the hundreds, then we saw they were in the 60s. Where are they right now?
I know up to yesterday we have something like 888. Last night we had 33, so we're just above 900 arrests so far for curfew for state of emergency regulation violators.
But it's trending down?
Yes, it is trending down. Somehow I believe that it is more a matter of the officers not arresting, but warning more as opposed to arresting. I don't think that the trending down is a clear indication that less persons are on the streets, because I move around a lot, and I do see a number of persons on the streets, and I have seen where officers are only warning as opposed to arresting. So let's see how it goes.
Do you expect the number to spike again now that the curfew for minors goes to 4 p.m.?
Well, I would hope not, and I would hope that parents are going to take heed and ensure that their children remain at home. And I just want to again explain that even though the curfew is there for children from 4 p.m. to 8 a.m., it is not an absolute thing. We have to have exceptions. And as I've said in previous interview, that if there is an essential worker who works after 4 p.m. and cannot afford to have an in-house babysitter, because you know an in-house babysitter costs more than if you take the child to the babysitter, and they need to take their child to a babysitter after the 4 p.m. hour, they should be allowed to do it. If you have a person who is coming off work at 4 and need to go to the babysitter to pick up their child before going home, if they are met by the police after that 4 p.m. hour with the child, they should be allowed to go home.
And while police may be using more discretion, they also have to be constantly doing homework because the state of emergency regulations are constantly being tweaked. Today, statutory instruments 55 and 56 went out with the latest regulations. Less than a month ago, the whole state of emergency thing started out at SI number 47. It's a work in constant revision, and we asked if police have a hard time keeping up.
Has it been a problem constantly tweaking these regulations?
We understand the tweaking now and then. Every day we're confronted with new situations, and the law must change to make those adjustments. I am happy that I am an attorney, and I'm even more happy that I have 3 more attorneys working with me. And so it helps us to be able to read and interpret the law and share with our members. I personally would do a voice clip or a video explaining the law to the officers, and I send that out on all the blogs for them. Yes, for them to know exactly what to do and what the law is saying. So it enlightens them in terms of what they can and what they cannot do. And then you have Mr. Jones as well, who every day he's on the blog informing the officers from a legal standpoint what they can and what they cannot do.
But while the regs may change, the 8 p.m. curfew has been pretty steady for 2 weeks now. Still though, night drives and tailgating are far from the only things we've had to give up in the COVID time in Belize. Tens of thousands have lost their livelihoods, and those lucky enough to still have jobs are facing the possibility of pay cuts. And while public officers are facing the reality that they may have to give up their increment, an internal memo from the PSU says no agreement has been reached. Also on the chopping block, reduction in annual leave, 25% of housing and entertainment allowances for heads of departments, senior management and CEOs, and reductions in gratuities. An internal memo from the PSU says that an alternative in the form of COVID-19 cost-saving measures was put forward by the unions to the Ministry of Finance. However, this was denied outright by the Financial Secretary, Joseph Waite. Now the union is inviting members and other public officers to voice their concerns or suggestions via email. Government's annual wage bill is more than $500 million, and its revenue right now is very close to a flat line. And we take a break now, but when we come back, we'll tell you the trouble about wildfires out west and the haze of smoke that they have been left in Ohio.
Digi, your national telecom, would like to assure all Belizeans that we will continue to keep you connected during this challenging time, providing you with high-quality services that you depend upon each day. The resilience and the reliability of both our staff and our networks will ensure that you are able to keep working, learning, and most importantly, communicating with your loved ones at home and abroad. This is what matters most at this time.
Boosting Diginet speeds for free to over 20,000 customers and pledging over $7 million to the COVID-19 Relief Fund by way of $1 million in cash and $6 million in value to our customers is just one of our ways of showing we are here for Belize.
You can depend on Digi. Together, we will get through this challenging time and emerge even stronger. Stay safe, Belize.
Scared, confused, overwhelmed? Stay in the know with COVID-19 Watch. Weekdays at 9:30 a.m. and 2 p.m. on Channel 7, and also on Facebook at Colorblind Multimedia Productions, 7 News Belize, and Digi Belize. Stay informed, stay vigilant, stay healthy.
It will make you it someday to save my friend. The credit union is around the bend. If you want to save my friend, the credit union is around the bend. Save, save, save. The credit union way. Save, save, save. It will make you rich someday to save my friend. The credit union is around the bend. If you want to save my friend, the credit union is around the bend. Save, save, save. The credit union way. Save, save, save. It will make you rich someday. Save, save, save. The credit union way. Save, save, save. It will make you rich someday. Save, save, save. The credit union way. Save, save, save. It will make you rich someday. Save, save, save. The credit union way. Save, save, save. It will make you rich someday.
If I should stay, I would.
Right now, Belizeans are doing their best to reduce their risk of catching the highly contagious coronavirus. That's why there was great concern this morning when residents of Belmopan and nearby communities woke up to a thick cloud of smoke polluting their air. As all of us know by now, COVID-19 is a respiratory illness that directly affects the lungs. And so, the local experts are concerned that air pollution can increase the COVID health risks. So, who's to blame? From where did the cloud of smoke over Belmopan originate? Well, the authorities suspect that farmers with nearby properties are preparing their land for agriculture and they're using fires to simplify their task. The vegetation from wild bushes have been dried out due to the lack of rains, and that means that any spark causes them to catch fire. When Belmopan residents saw this post from the respected environmental scientist Jan Meerman, they became worried about air pollution. He said that his tests for air quality showed a large quantity of smoke in the air over the capital and warned that overexposure could get residents ill. This afternoon, we spoke with Meerman via video chat about his findings.
The measures in Belize during the rainy season, those measures are clean. Belize has perfect air. But in the dry season, we have smoke, and that's not healthy. And the big thing about this sensor is probably that it shows the levels. Belizeans are used to smoke every dry season, and especially the ones that live inland, that live closer to where the fires take place. It's a fact of life, but no one realizes it's dangerous. And this sensor actually gives you an indication how high the smoke levels or the particle levels are, and tells you when it becomes dangerous. And in many cases, it says if this lasts for more than 24 hours, many people will start experiencing health issues. And the levels have been to a degree now. Like this morning, we had an extreme peak, which was a very short-lasting peak, but a very extreme peak. But the levels have been above what's considered where it gets unhealthy for days, if not weeks now.
As viewers are aware, the Ministry of the Environment has been actively trying to discourage Belizeans from starting any kind of bonfires. They say that those warnings have been ignored, and so they are going to take action against it. This afternoon, the CEO of the Ministry of Environment granted us an interview via telephone on the issue. He told us that a piece of legislation is being drafted to criminalize bonfires during the COVID-19 public health threat. Here's how he explained it to us.
We have satellite information from NASA through a system that they call FIRMS. The acronym is FIRMS. It's a system that is reliant on a network of satellites that orbit the Earth every few minutes, 8 minutes in some cases, and in other cases 16 minutes. And so we have near real-time access to information of where fires are, because these satellites are able to detect a hot spot on the Earth's surface that is as small as a few tens of square feet. Okay. As long as it's hot enough, and it's picked up by the satellites, it's sent to NASA's system, and then it's placed online for access by the public. And I can tell you, like for the past few days, we've had about 70 to 80 fires per day. Over the Easter holidays, the long weekend, we had up to 117 fires in one day. And so it's the height of the dry season right now. Not a drop of rain has fallen in Belmopan. I don't think anywhere else either. And so people are burning, preparing the land to plant. No, they're using fire to clear the land. And where we're seeing these fires are adjacent to communities. In the case of Belmopan, they're to the east, between here and Cotton Tree. Some of them are to the north, across the river. Up in Orange Walk and Corozal, the fire points coincide with the cane fields. Down in the south, the fire points coincide with the milpas that the indigenous folks burn. And out west around San Ignacio, they coincide with the agricultural parcels as well. But we put out a couple advisories last week and a week before advising and suggesting that farmers can begin to use other practices, especially during this state of emergency. As it were, we have a respiratory disease circulating, and any stress on our lungs and any pollution in the air would only make people be under stress, their system and their lungs, and that's not a situation that you want. This is not a time to be breathing dirty air. And so we had I mentioned to you, we had been working on a piece of legislation that we're hoping to be passed. We're working in conjunction with the Solicitor General's office. I understand they're finalizing the drafting of this legislation, and basically it would state that it is unlawful to light any fires to any vegetation or to any waste, be it household or yard waste, during the state of emergency. So anybody lighting any fires once the law is passed would be in contravention of the law.
Our next story comes from New Jersey. That's where Shilpa Bhatt is an ultrasound technologist on the front lines of the COVID war. That state has one of the highest infection and mortality rates in the US, and Bhatt says that because of her specialty, she is always one of the first to be called to deal with new admissions. Bhatt has strong ties to Belize, and her parents have lived here for 28 years. Her mother was a doctor in Orange Walk, while her father ran a pharmacy. She told us what's the present situation in New Jersey and how she deals with it.
Explain to me how you all have been coping with keeping supplied on PPEs. We know that there's such a high demand for it, and we know that some hospitals have been struggling to keep up with that demand. What has been your experience with it?
We are very short of supplies. We have PPEs, we are getting some.
Have you ever been in a situation where you felt you required a fresh PPE, or you wish you would have had one, but you were unable to access one?
We have felt it, and we have used the same one, but people have been good. It's not been as bad. It has been bad, but you can work with it. You can work it out.
Explain, if you can, the protocol for handling patients. What is the protocol there at your hospital for new admissions? Indeed, the person may just have seasonal flu. It may not be COVID-19. What is the protocol at your hospital?
So anybody who comes into the hospital has to be sick. You're not going to come in just for anything. Patients on their own have decreased. We have more positiveness right now than before because only sick people are coming in. Everybody who enters the hospital, or you meet anybody, you're going to look at that patient as being a COVID-19 patient. They are treated as corona patients. When I go to do those cases, even if it's a rule out COVID-19, I do put the PPE on.
Right.
And my last two experiences this week, both the patients, they were ruled out and they did come out to be positive. So yes, you are going to treat them as positive, whether they are not, yes or not. The other thing is that, are you wasting a whole PPE set on them? But you cannot take a chance. You have to waste.
We asked Bhatt how they are doing with the supply of PPEs or personal protective equipment. These have been scarce in the New York area, and she says they have to manage use wisely.
There are designated floors. There are designated beds on floors. The whole ICU in my hospital is COVID-19 designated. There are patients in the emergency room that have been over 250 hours as of today. Couple of them that we don't have rooms for them yet. So they are on the ventilator in the ICU. In the emergency room, sorry.
In the emergency room.
Whatever is needed is being done. Yeah, we give them a separate room, but rule out COVIDs are also in a separate section with curtains. So you have to be very careful. Not everybody has a separate room.
And while managing PPEs is one thing, managing the sick is another. She says her hospital is inundated and they have to adjust and improvise.
Yesterday, there were too many cases in the US, and more than 50% are in New York, and we are a neighboring state. New Jersey is very bad also. So it's flattening, but it's still not going down yet. So it is very bad. Everybody over there in Belize should take care. No touching. Don't go out till you need it. We haven't gone out for possibly almost 20 days to even get any fruits or vegetables. The only person goes out is me to go to work and comes back. You keep isolation and washing of hands. That's so much of a help. And if that goes on, Belize will be very good because you don't have that many cases yet.
Right.
So you can contain it. You guys can contain it.
Again, Bat has been an ultrasound technician at a leading hospital in New Jersey for 35 years. ASR BSI, the millers of sugarcane in the north, is reporting tonight that they've been working with women's groups of the 3 cane farming associations to mass produce over 5,400 face masks for the cane farmers and of Corozal and Orange Walk. The company says that after the Prime Minister's announcement encouraging the use of face masks to reduce the risk of spreading the COVID-19, they secured and provided the materials for these locally made masks. BSI's Environmental Health and Safety Department approved a sample based on guidelines from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. Once that prototype was approved, the women's groups connected to the cane farming associations began mass production. Distribution of these masks began yesterday, and each recipient was given a packet containing 2, along with guidelines for best use. A local manufacturer is in the process of producing another 2,000 face masks for all BSI employees. That production was not carried out by the women's groups due to urgency and demand. The company has also instituted other safety measures for workers, such as checking their temperatures for fevers before they board the company buses to work. On Tuesday, we told you about the chicken crisis facing the nation. And at the start of the week, dwindling poultry sales were straining the storage capabilities and threatening the freshness of products slated for sale. We also told you that one producer, Quality Poultry, was combating the crisis by offering buy 2, get 1 deals. And today, General Manager Raymond Barkman told us that the sales are, quote, working very well. And he gave us a glimpse inside his production plant from hatchery to assembly line, where they've managed to free up space and keep things rolling. And if you've been hearing rumors of hens being destroyed, Barkman says it's not so. As he tells it, producers have begun to give away hens to families in nearby communities. As for the chicken sale on offer, it will roll over into next week. Tarpon fishing for consumption or sale is illegal in Belize. It's a species designated for catch and release only. That's why these pictures, posted on Facebook, caused outrage among conservation-minded Belizeans who saw it. In the first picture, a man who is obviously hiding his face to conceal his identity, he is posing with a massive fish. Experts tell us that the size indicates that is an elderly tarpon specimen. In the next picture, the poster is boasting about a dish he created using tarpon that was illegally caught. We have since contacted Fisheries Administrator Beverly Wade about the post. She told us that, indeed, an offense was committed. She added that digital proof like this has been used before in the prosecution of cases, but those prosecutions were unsuccessful. The problem is that the Fisheries Department must provide the court with stronger evidence that the social media posters were the ones who actually committed the illegal fishing offense. And it looks like you need to be escaping a fire to justify calling a taxi during the state of emergency. This week, a taxi driver was arrested on Cayo's Black Rock Road for carrying out a regular run. And today we asked Commissioner Williams how many taximen countrywide have been charged and whether they're allowed to be working at all.
Okay, now I know in Cayo I heard there's also been an arrest for a taxi that they caught on Black Rock Road who was making a regular run, not an emergency run per se, because those are the only things permitted or essential services. Would you explain, have you all charged multiple persons for running taxi on regular runs?
Taximen have to understand that while yes they can run, they can only run on call. And the call must be one that is of emergency. It cannot be an ordinary run. And so if it is that they're out there doing routine taxiing, then that is not permissible under the regulations.
And that's all we have for you on 7 News Tonight. Thanks for watching. I am Robin Schaefer. Watch streaming video of this newscast at 7newsbelize.com. And remember, keep yourself and others safe. Maintain your safety and hygienic practices, social distancing of at least 3 feet, washing hands for 20 seconds, and not touching your face. Stay healthy, stay safe, and stay alert during this weekend. And please stay home. Don't panic and join Indira Craig here on Monday.